Well, my name is Bob Aldridge, and I'm a former missile engineer. I worked for Lockheed Missile and Space Company in Santa Clara, California, where they build the Trident missiles. I worked 16 years there, and at the beginning of the Trident program, I saw that the weapons were becoming more aggressive, and I resigned that position.
So you say you were there for 16 years, and during the 16 years, what was your actual function?
Well, I was, during the first part of the time I worked there, I worked in the engineering department on the underwater launch, getting this underwater launch of submarine launched ballistic missiles. And then the last half of the time I worked on the reentry vehicles. They would be the Navy's counterpart of the Mark 12A, you might say. The reentry vehicles that go on the Navy's missiles they launch from submarines. I was a lead engineer on that. I had 6 to 12 engineers working under me, and at one time I had the responsibility to define the concept for the Mark 500 maneuvering reentry vehicle, which GE now subcontracts from Lockheed.
What changed your mind in terms of your career working in that situation, and why are you doing what you're doing now?
Well, at the beginning of the Trident program, it was when I was given this job on the Mark 500 that I had to review a lot of reports to bring myself up to date on that technology. And in those reports, I could see that the military is interested in more accuracy in their missiles. Now, on the surface, that may not seem too important. It may seem like a thing to do to make the missiles more accurate, but when we analyze it alongside the policy, the nuclear policy that the government announces to the public, the policy of deterrence, in other words, being prepared to respond or retaliate if the Soviet Union launches a nuclear attack at the United States, and that retaliation would be massive and destruction of cities and manufacturing areas. And this threat of this retaliation is supposed to deter the Soviets from ever striking at us, and it's supposed to work the other way around too. Now that's the strategy of deterrence. So these kind of targets are not, they're what they call soft targets. The cities are wide and sprawling, and the manufacturing areas are pretty open. It doesn't take a very accurate missile or a very sophisticated bomb to destroy them. So when the weapons that are available now are more than adequate to do that. So when you get to a weapon where you're trying to derive more accuracy from it, in other words, within a few hundred feet, a few hundred yards, or sometimes even down to some of the new ones are going to be, in the middle of this decade, are going to be getting down to about 300-foot accuracy. Well, you don't need that under this deterrent policy. What you need that for is to destroy hard targets, like underground missile silos or underground command posts that are, hardened against nuclear blasts and radiation. Well, those are the kind of targets that you have to destroy before they serve their function. There's no use destroying an empty missile silo. You have to destroy it before the missile is launched. And that means striking first. And of course, first strike is an aggressive policy. This was the type of weapon I saw coming, and why I had to eventually disengage myself from helping to develop that kind of weapon.
You feel that you're disengaging from weapons designs was based on an act of conscience?
Yes, it was. I resigned from Lockheed in 1973. At that time, I decided that maybe I could use my engineering knowledge and experience to do research and help people understand what all these different technologies are. They're widely scattered. They're described in technical jargon. Very, it's hard for the average person to understand the engineering language and the military language. So I went into private research on my own, in writing and speaking and lecturing on this subject to try to help people understand what it means to be developing more accurate missiles, what it means to be developing many of the sensors that we're developing now, and what it means to be developing the open ocean anti-submarine warfare capability that we're developing. And they all tie together into a first strike capability.
What do you feel about the action that the defendants took in this particular situation?
Well, I think the way it was described as being the first positive move toward disarmament in 35 years was expressed it very well, because all of the arms control negotiations and treaties have not reduced the weapon stockpile by one weapon so far. And of course, the Mark 12A definitely fits into this first strike capability. It is going to be going on the 300 Minuteman III missiles, which have already been equipped with a more accurate guidance system, and make it very much more capable of destroying silos. The way the Minuteman III was originally deployed, it was not accurate or large enough warhead to destroy silos. But the Mark 12A is also now going to the candidate for the MX missile, for 200 MX missiles, and each one of those will carry 10 Mark 12As. Well, that's 2,000 of them that are going to the MX program. And the MX, with its new guidance system and with the use of a new satellite navigation system that will be available at the middle of this decade, the NavStar global positioning system, that's when they'll be able to hit within 300 feet of the target. And that's definitely a first strike capability. There's no other use for that except to destroy missile silos.
So you feel that the defendants, in a certain sense, were justified in this?
I think under international law, which first of all outlaws weapons of massive and indiscriminate destruction of property and non-combatants, but also under certain specific international agreements, such as the Crimes Against Peace, the Nuremberg Principles, and the United Nations Charter, that first strike aggressive weapons are, in addition, illegal under international law. And since that is made part of the supreme law of the land by the United States Constitution, well, they're certainly obeying the supreme law of the land by destroying these weapons. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Aldridge.